Hello, fans are back. How good is it to have fans back in a football stadium again? It was nice to sing along with the fans for the first time. You can talk about the game separately, and we're going to. I just in kind of the pre-show bit wanted to just say how good it is to see fans back in the stadium, and despite there being government guidelines to discourage chanting and singing. I don't know what you're supposed to. What are you going to do? There's a steward there going, shh, please, no, stop, shout, no. What are you going to do? And to be honest, you got masks on, man. Like, what's that? Come on, sing all you like. It is absolutely fantastic to see fans back in the ground. Life starting to get back to a semblance of normality again. It was weird, it was strange, but Arsenal got the job done and it felt good doing so. Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys for another show, for another episode of our Raw Reaction series. Shows we are back to you straight after every single Arsenal, talking to you in the chat box, live on the screen of your phone, tablet, TV, projector. I don't know why I said printer, but yeah, no, fantastic to have. And it's weird, isn't it? Because coming back to kind of the thing I just spoke about with fans in the stadium, it's weird that we've kind of been doing these shows what feels like ages, and it has been back in 2016 things started, but there was just something different. Even doing the show now, talking to you guys in the chat box as we have done and has remained consistent, it's just something just feels different, and it's so great. Glenn Cook says positivity is nice. Sabas was superb, says Harun. Thomas Lear says Pepe went for every ball. We need every player to play like this moving forwards. Let's scroll up a bit. Xhaka can't play on Sunday, says Kian. Sarai Sai says, easy game, we're going to win on Sunday. I'm up in the positivity. It's crazy, isn't it, how things change so quick. Dave Lennon says, finally we drop a performance out there that benefits the DNA of this club. Tulip says, even though opponents weren't that good, but so calming to see such a good performance. We fought competition, says Hanyami. I won't get ahead of yourself yet, son, but maybe. Tinashe says, I actually enjoyed that game. First time in a long while I've enjoyed watching us play. Paul KK23 says, nice to have the crowd back, even just watching on TV. Randerson says, yes, I enjoyed that. The movement of the players was a joy to watch. Juan Felipe Palacio Rivera says the next round game are not going to be that easy. Bringing us to a semblance of reality, Juan. There's plenty to talk about in that game. I mean, Lacazette is kind of where I want to start off things, playing in this deeper role, which is something that was kind of pointed out to us, like when he joined, even like the season that Lacazette joined and then Aubameyang came in. A lot of people kind of wanted to see Lacazette playing as kind of a second striker, and I completely dismissed it at the time, thinking, I mean, he's never played that position before. He doesn't strike me as the most creative player. But it could be, whilst Arsenal are clearly lacking a player that is in the squad that can play in that number 10 role, he can. It's something that genuinely it seems like a possibility. Now, in the long term, no, I'm still very much on the side of Arsenal need a ready-made kind of second striker. I don't look at it as a number 10. I don't think it is a number 10 position. I look at it as a second striker role. He gets into those scoring positions in the box a lot more than you would see from a number 10. So I don't categorise it as such. But I genuinely think that whilst we lack the personnel, it provides us with an option. Long term, Arsenal need to sign players as a number 10 to play in that position as an attacking midfield to add creativity. Because Lacazette, in my opinion, still does not give you enough creativity. And it's very easy to turn around after a game like we saw today and say that it will work. After we saw a game in Norway where he played that role it was very tame in Norway, playing in that position. So you've got two examples there. You've got the Rapid game, you've got the Molde game. and it's been very contrasting. But it's an option. It's something that we could use. Unaf says, not 10, false 9. Nike, a false 9 would be without a striker. So it's not a false 9 position, because to play false 9, you're still the most advanced central player. So, I mean, go back and look at Spalletti's Roma and see the position that Francesco Totti was playing. That's a false 9. False 9 is not someone who plays behind anyone. So it's not a number 10, I agree with you there, but it is not a false 9. He was dropping much deeper than a false 9 would do, says Rodog, 100%. He was kind of playing a 10/8 role. I think maybe sometimes we can get very kind of associated with labels and numbers and stuff, and I'm definitely someone who does that a lot. But I liked him as a second striker. I think he gave us something there in this game. Will it work in the long term? Who knows? Who knows? So that was good. And obviously his goal was great from long range. I saw Drew tweeting out on Twitter, if you don't follow him at FM Lera, that people were surprised at that shot. And if we're looking actually back at his time at the club, it isn't something that should surprise us at all. It is not something that we should be surprised about, because he has done that for Lyon and he's done it for us. We scored at Spurs last year with a fantastic long-range effort. He can score long-range goals, and maybe playing in that slightly deeper role rather than an out-and-out number 9 is he can actually play with the element of surprise from these long-range strikes. It worked at Spurs last year. Maybe it could work again. So tell me, people, in the chat box, yes or no, Laka on Sunday in the North London derby playing in this second striker role just in behind the central number 9. Are you in favour of it for Sunday? Is it too soon? Is it something that you aren't really that keen on because it didn't necessarily work in Norway? But it showed promise tonight. So let me know in the chat box. B-Shoe says yes. Tom says yes. Glenn Cook says moving Laka into the midfield is interesting. Underrated, long shots, deceptively mobile. Kamal says Laka has to start. Yes, C says Rinat. Matt Gray says yes. Thomas Lee said yes. Laka boom, says Tom. Yes, Laka, says MIL. Reaction. Dario G says yes, please. Let's try it. Tony Mills says why not? Yeah. Yannick Mack says I'm okay with the substitution as long as the season battle can start next week. We will get on to that, Yannick. Don't you worry. A says, so what do you think about a double swoop for Buendia and Max Aarons? I personally think when Buendia will have more of an impact than Soboslai. Maybe. It's not really the topic that we're going to talk about today, though, but certainly something that I would suggest leaving as a comment in today's video if you want these questions associated. Unas says yes. Zamir says Alba, Alba, wherever he is going to play. Mr. Joe Kurtz says no, and Sanyik says don't get carried away, which is completely fair enough. So the next player that we need to talk about is Pablo Mari. Pablo Mari came back, obviously, after 6 months with an ankle injury. Really great to see the Spaniard back. He is someone that has gone so much under the radar just as being an Arsenal player in general, because we signed him and he's barely been able to play because of the injury that he sustained against Manchester City. It was a really bad injury and that's why he's been out for so long. It is good to have the additional depth at centre-back. It is good that we've got this. And actually, a lot of people are very surprised to see Arsenal being linked with a right-sided centre-back in the summer, considering, or in January even, considering we've got William Saliba here. Now, what I would say to that is that it is good to have two good quality players for every single position. Gabriel and Marie could possibly be those two. On the right-hand side, we've basically got Saliba, and then you've got Mustafi, you've got Socrates, and you've got David Luiz, all whose contracts run out at the end of the season and will be gone. So I'm not surprised that Arsenal are in the market to add a right-sided centre-back, especially considering the development of Saliba maybe is not accelerating as quickly as the club may have hoped for, and in part that is due to the club's mismanagement of Saliba as well. So Marie himself, I thought, was brilliant. I thought his passing was great. The way he moved the ball forward was really, really good. Let me just quickly pick up on a super chat from Chris P. Thank you, Chris. He said, not sure what's going on with Thursdays. We keep winning and you always look like you win. I don't know what this is. It must be the lighting. But you make me feel very conscious about myself, Chris. I don't know why you do this to me. Is there a red station that you get when we win? Deary me, Chris. Deary me. But I need to turn the brightness down on my laptop. See, this is what we're going to do. We're going to go this dark now because I'm so conscious about how I look. Unbelievable. I've completely lost my train of thought. Marie scored a great goal from a header. From a corner. We actually scored from a corner that went into the box. Now, what we should say is that the corner that Nelson put in for Marie was great. Well done. You've got the ball into the box. However, the rest of the corners, are terrible. Absolutely dreadful. Once again. I don't know if it's the fact that I drink such cold drinks. Maybe that's what it does. Bringing out those, what they call capillaries. That's the word. See, biology, hello. I mean, I got an E. But anyway, moving on. What we're saying in the chat was Joseph Maseko says, the thing is, if we're getting a right-sided centre-back, that kills any chance of Saliba getting consistent game time here. So the bad reaction is understandable, which I kind of get on board, but I think that still a player of his age, that young, you are going to be gradual. And competition is a good thing. You don't want to have one guy in a position and then the next best thing is nothing. If Saliba is the person we're pinning all our hopes on and then the next best thing is someone dropping off in a hell of a lot of quality, that's not what you want. So invest, bring in another right-sided centre-back, get that competition going. It's likely Saliba will be gone for the rest of the season anyway because of a loan. He may even go on loan again next season because they really are trying to manage that situation a lot better than they were before. Quality balls into the box tonight from a open play type of situation. However, what I would say is that the corners, again, just not good enough, really. The corners are pretty dreadful. Salim says, what do you think of Cedric? He should start on Sunday. Are you mad? Cedric, no. Cedric was fine tonight, but Bellerin is getting better. Bellerin gets so much hate. Like, it's ridiculous how much hate Hector Bellerin is getting. No, Cedric should not be starting on Sunday. Absolutely no chance. Absolutely. He did nothing today, like, to make me think, yes, he is clearly the right man. He was consistent, he was solid, he was decent. Like, he didn't put anything in what I would say is a great performance for me, personally. So, there you go. The corners weren't that... What are people watching? I don't understand. You need to go... tomorrow, I'm going to go on to Y-Scout and I'm going to get all of Arsenal's corners from today. I think there was about 3 of 8 or 9. If we had that many, 6, 7, 8 or 9, 2 or 3 were okay. One of them we scored from. The rest were dreadful. And it needs to be consistent. It needs to be so much better than that. Really so much better than that. Incorrecto says, some friends saying that Marie is slow. Don't forget that he just got back from a serious injury in Flamengo. He was a defender who was a builder of moves and was extremely fast. I wouldn't go as far as saying extremely fast, but I certainly think that he's underrated in terms of the speed that he does have. A lot of people associate speed with their pace rating on FIFA these days, which if you look at Gabriel's is horrific and it is not reflective of his actual speed. So what I would say is that Marie is not a slow defender by any means, and actually he's coming back from injury. He will be a little bit tentative when he is in full stride, but he's certainly coming back and he's someone that I'm really impressed with. And also there's an opportunity, if we did say go to the back 3, which is a real possibility, that having 2 left footers is fine for that, because you can play one of them in the central part of the back 3 and then one of them, of course, playing on that left-hand side. So Marie and Gabriel could play together. And we've seen in the past lots of right-footed partnerships with 2 centre-backs. We saw it with Per Mertesacker and Koscielny. Could Gabriel and Marie form a partnership in the future? Maybe. It is not a very common thing that you see. But it's not to say that it does not happen. And Daryl Price says, Marie doesn't need the speed because he reads the game well. Very similar to Per Mertesacker. Nowhere near as slow as Per Mertesacker. But it's the way that the slower defenders read the game is how they are so good. You saw that with players like Carlos Puyol. Now, I'm not saying that Marie is as good as Carlos, but he's a completely different type of defender. But in terms of the speed of both of those, the slower defenders had to be really good in the way that they read the play. And so that is certainly something that will be an improvement. Incorrecto says, I'm Brazilian, I'm sorry for this. No, it was perfect. Don't you worry about it. English was spot on. Mal Hodger says, Bellerin has been put in a horrible light. He's actually pretty good. He isn't a physical presence. Sorry, the thing just screwed up my screen. He isn't a physical presence, but which left back, left wing back isn't? He's really good in attack and is decent with the ball at his feet. I mean, obviously, right back, I'm assuming is what you meant, but he just gets a bad rap. Anyway, I really want to talk about the players that actually played tonight, and the next person I want to talk about is our boy Mainsley. Mainsley, up there, like he had such a good game playing in the centre of midfield, which is something that, and Mike McDonald, who sent me a DM before the game about his article, if you haven't checked it out, please do, was very hopeful that Mainsley would be playing in the middle of midfield, and he had two The dream nearly came true, guys. Mainsley nearly scored, and I was so gutted when he digged that ball just wide. I say just wide, it was miles wide, and he should have done a lot better with the opportunity when it came. But the thing I would hope that you notice by Mainsley playing in the middle of the park is the amount of mobility that it brought us. Like, we have lacked so much momentum and mobility and dynamism from the centre of the park when we've only had Xhaka and Ceballos and El Neni. Those three are just nowhere near as mobile as what we need our midfielders to be. Ceballos is the most mobile of all of them, but he doesn't move the ball as quickly as I'd like him to. Often it's spinning and turning and dragging the ball and pushing it upfield, but it's not as fast, and he should be releasing the ball quicker. Mainsley does bring that, and Mainsley is excellent at doing that. And I just feel that when Thomas Partey is back fit, I would love to see a combination of Mainsley and Partey playing next to each other as a pivot, because I think that Partey would ultimately provide Mainsley with the security to be able to be a more free player. And free and freedom in itself is actually the words that I would use to describe Arsenal's performance today. It was so much more fluid, it was so much freer, and we just were able to get back a little bit of that Arsenal verve that we've been missing for a really long time. And I'm hoping now that we've kind of seen some of the things in this and in these games that will allow us to do that. Thibaut Pest says, we need Mainsley marking Son this weekend. Only player that we have who can match him for speed. And I would like to see Mainsley playing on the left-hand side of the midfield. I think that we don't have much choice in terms of the formation this weekend. We have to go with the 3-4-3. If we go with the back four, I think Spurs are going to overrun us. I still expect Kane to be fit, even though there's the whole mind games of him maybe not be. But I just feel his passes to Son and to Bergwijn, who are most likely going to start, will be lethal if we don't deal with those, and we need to be going with the back three. Ian says, Mainsley lose the ball a little too many times when pressured. That is risky in midfield, and that comes with game time. That comes with consistency, and he hasn't been playing consistently for the club in terms of the amount of chances that he's been given. So if you're waiting for someone that's not been playing regularly to come in and be 100% pass accuracy, it's not going to happen, Ian. And so it's only going to happen if he's given the commitment and the time to play regularly in the midfield. When he gets given that, I guarantee you that we'll see an improvement in his passing accuracy. It comes with time. It comes with being given the trust to move the ball forwards and to be playing in a regular way. Easy Isle Ed says, these Europa games are key to showing me we have options. Lacquer deep, Mainsley in the middle, Emile Smith-Rowe playing at 10. Would love to see more of the kids, but I will take this. And that kind of brings us on to looking at some more of the younger players. Eddie Nketiah scored, tenacious. I love the fact that he managed to get that goal because it didn't look like it was going to come. But he managed to get on the end of that ball when it did rebound back to him. Good to see him score. I'm not going to talk negatively about him. I could talk about the long-term worries that I have. I'm not going to. I just think that he's a good option that we've got. He's just good someone that's going to be able to play in these games, add the little bit of verve that we need, add that rotation quality for Aubameyang. And fingers crossed he can become more consistent, because he clearly has an eye for goal. He clearly has a good finishing brain. And I'm just hoping that he can prove me wrong in the long term. Next player to talk about is Nicola Pepe. Nicola Pepe, of course, is suspended in the Premier League. Is showing Mikel Arteta what he's missing at the moment. And it's really frustrating. It's really, really frustrating to talk about Pepe playing so well, because we can't use him. We can't use him for the next two games against Spurs and then against Burnley. And it's really frustrating that he plays so well now. And I'm hoping, I'm praying, fingers crossed, that this form that he has right now in the Europa League can carry on. Maybe this is the turning point for Pepe. Maybe this is the moment in which he really can push on. He builds the confidence back up that's been lacking from his game for so long in these string of performances that he's getting against lesser opposition, that when he then comes into the Premier League side, he comes in and he smashes it. And that is what we've got to pray and hope happens for the Ivorian, because if it doesn't, then we're going to go back to what we were talking about prior to his sending off and after his sending off. And we don't want to get back to that situation with Pepe. This, as I've said, could be the renaissance that we've needed Pepe to have for such a long time. Let's get your thoughts in the chat box on Pepe. Pepe on the left, says Martinic. It was interesting. And I kind of really like the fact that he was able to cut the balls back, interestingly, cut them back in low drives, getting up on the end of opportunities, and being really a lot more unpredictable, which is something that we desperately need him to be. He is so predictable on the right-hand side. You know that he's going to cut in. You know he's going to use that left foot. But playing on the right-hand side, he can run to the byline. And when he runs to the byline and uses his pace, he doesn't have to cut back. And he can use that strong left foot to put the crosses in. And this could be an unlock of something that we've not seen from him because he's been so kind of goal-orientated playing on the right, which is great. And you want to see him score goals. But an inverted winger that is very one-dimensional is really easy to defend against. So by playing him on the left, it gives us that option to be a little bit more unpredictable in how we use Pepe, and that is something that I'm excited to see. And of course, the goal he scored, I believe it was against Mulder, with his right foot at the Emirates a couple of weeks back, outside of the box, really good finish. That shows that he can use his right foot when it comes to shooting. When it comes to crossing, it's not been too good. So maybe playing on the left is something that actually we can use. So fingers crossed we can get a little bit more from him. Let's get a few more thoughts on Pepe. Brian Robles says, I hope the red card incident is the turning point for his Arsenal career for the better. He always seems to me a player that needs to be embraced. Hope Arteta has got his arm around him and to get him going again. After 30 years, the Scouts are still on title, saying, why are people saying that Arteta has been sacked? I don't know. Nope, he hasn't. So I don't know why people think that's the case. Dave Lennon says, on the left, Pepe is a winger. On the right, he's a sort of counter-attacking striker with one type of movement. And Dave, whilst Arsenal can counter-attack, a lot of the time we find ourselves in possession of the ball. And that's when seemingly Pepe is not at his most effective. So yes, on the left, it seems to be working. AFTW 1245 says, why didn't Arteta play Balogun for more than 10 minutes? Eddie Nketiah is not good enough to be a backup striker to Aubameyang, or if Aubameyang moves to the left, we'll need a striker. Give Balogun a chance. What I would say is, yes, it frustrated me that he wasn't given more minutes, especially in such a dead rubber. I don't use that to talk about Nketiah. I think it's two different things. But I do think you need to be in perspective when you're speaking about Balogun. He's still exceptionally young. He's got barely any senior minutes so far. It only just recently looks like that he's going to be staying at the club. He's going to be eased in. He's probably, hopefully, going to get a lot more minutes against Dundalk in the final game of the group because it's a complete dead rubber again. And obviously playing with Pepe on that left-hand side, it might really benefit him with being able to put those crosses into the box for him too. So I'm really hoping and praying that we do see Balogun get more minutes, but I don't think you need to panic too much right now. A says, do you think that Balogun will extend his contract despite only playing for 10 minutes? This was an opportunity for Balogun to have a chance to playing Nketiah against Rapid Vienna. And again, like Nketiah is not playing in the Premier League, and you can't just drop Nketiah, who hasn't necessarily done anything particularly wrong, or played particularly badly. He's got a couple of goals this season now. He's scoring again in the Europa League. He's got a goal in this game. He got a goal against Mulder at home, I believe, as well. So, and against Dundalk. So you need to think about in the long term. You can't just chuck off a player like Nketiah that's not getting any minutes. This is the right way to manage them. I would say that the only thing I'd advise is giving Balogun a few more minutes, especially in the upcoming game. Do not panic. Okay, just don't panic about that one. Chris P, thanks for the super chat, mate. He says, can we just take a moment to feel that feeling? Winning, you cruel, sobering temptress. Arsenal shall command and dominate your favour once more. It is nice, obviously, to be winning again. But it has to come into context. This is the Europa League. This is Rapid Vienna. They aren't anywhere near Premier League quality. And they didn't play a strong lineup. That's something that I don't think many people will pick up on, but they didn't play a strong lineup at all. Kara didn't start. Funtas, I don't think, played. And then you've got Yusuf Demir that played, a very young, exciting player, but from speaking to Wolfgang in the preview show, again, he isn't a starter for them. Their goalkeeper, Strobringer, that came in, has not been playing the last few games for them after the game against Arsenal, in which he lost his starting place. It wasn't a strong Rapid side. It was not their first full 11 that you would see playing. So there is also that to consider. But it is good to be winning, and it is good to see Arsenal playing free-flowing, attacking football that hopefully can be translated into the Premier League. These games need to be used to push us in the right direction in the Premier League. If it doesn't, then they're effectively pointless. You need to use these games as a platform to push you forwards. Momentum is key. I think having the fans back in the stadium genuinely did have an impact. Just having that presence of the team knowing that they're being watched, that little bit of added pressure and buoyancy that having the fans there will give them, I think is ultimately a really good thing. So fingers crossed that we can translate this into the Premier League games. Couple of things before we wrap up. Tomorrow, 5 o'clock UK time, let's talk Arsenal with just myself and you guys in the chat box. This is becoming a weekly thing that we will have 2 Let's Talk Arsenal shows. One will be on Tuesday at 5 o'clock, where I'll hopefully be joined by a guest every single week. On Tuesday, I'll be Lee Judges. And tomorrow will be the show in which, like we did on Tuesday this week, it is just me, you guys, chatting for an hour or so, talking about Arsenal, talking about everything that you can come up with in the chat box. Effectively a bit of a Q&A. It's a lot of fun. If you could drop a like on the video today, I'd really, really appreciate it. It's been a pleasure to speak to you guys, as it always is. Make sure you subscribe if you're new around here. And it's going to be tough Sunday. It's going to be really, really tough. But fingers crossed that something can come of it. We'll do the preview show for that on Saturday. I'll be joined by Joe Aldridge, who is a friend of mine, who is a producer at TalkSport and is a Spurs fan. So it'll be fun and interesting to have a chat with Joe ahead of Sunday. He's a really nice guy. He's just got a massive personality flaw in the team that he supports. Other than that, great guy. So make sure you tune in for that interesting debate on Saturday. Tomorrow, as I said already, Let's Talk Arsenal, followed up by Let's Talk Arsenal on Tuesday with Lee Judges. Podcast will be back on Monday, where I'll be joined by Johnny Cochran again, who's come on a couple of times. Really good guy. Drew will be coming back on Monday as well with French. So a really good lineup stocked in for Monday's show. We will see you again very, very soon. And as always, up the Arsenal.